On the 43rd anniversary of the correction movement, great achievements and strong determination to continue. And the Syrian Arab Army landslide victories against armed terrorist groups continue in several areas. Three years after a NATO democracy, the chaos of weapons and terrorism controls Libya. Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab television in Damascus. 43 years ago, the correctionist movement was launched to correct the track and achieve a qualitative progress in Syria's modern history. More in the following.
The factories, hospitals, schools, universities, and great national projects were carried out to meet the requirements of a modern state and ensure security and stability to the citizens and the homeland. Since the very beginning of the correction movement, Syria advocated the culture of resistance of Israeli occupation. The correction movement changed Syria into a main state in the region, which participated in all solutions of the problems and challenges facing the Arab region. Syria has an influential role in making history in the region, but the powers of hegemony seek to reverse Syria's achievements through recruiting mercenaries and threatening an aggression against it by the US and its tools in the region. But the Syrian people are determined to foil the conspiracy and protect their country.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has discussed in a phone call with Egyptian interim President Adly Mansour the situation in Syria and the outcome of the talks held by Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu with their Egyptian counterparts on the 30th and 40th of this month in Cairo. Press and Information Office at the Kremlin said in a statement that Putin and Mansour voiced appreciation of the outcome of the talks held, expressing mutual keenness on expanding bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Iraqi Prime Minister Al-Maliki has asserted that Iraq would not allow that the region be turned into a den for terrorist criminals and murderers, as has been witnessed in Iraq and as it is being witnessed in Syria right now. Al-Maliki reiterated that Iraq was keen on contributing to the stability of the region, the welfare of its people, and the stand in face of those armies that aim to invade Syria or Iraq. In Damascus, 2 mortar shells were fired by terrorists on the area surrounding the French hospital at Al-Qassa area, causing the death of a woman. The terrorist attacks caused material damage to houses and a number of cars. Terrorists also fired mortar shells on Al-Abbasiyin area, causing material damage to the place, but with no casualties. The General Command of the Syrian Army and Armed Forces issued a statement affirming that after a successful military operation and accurate tactical maneuvers, units of the Syrian Armed Forces managed to tighten control over the towns of Al-Hadath, Hawarin and Mahin and the warehouses nearby to the southeast of Homs city. In Homs eastern countryside, units of the armed forces seized 3 trucks loaded with weapons and ammunition in the vicinity of Al-Gharbi Palace. A lot of explosive devices of different sizes were also seized in the trucks. In Tel Hasel countryside, units of the Syrian Arab Army, in cooperation with the border guards and the locals, have foiled an attempt by the terrorists who were trying to infiltrate from Lebanon via Adlin and Al-Ghaida areas, killing or wounding most of the attackers. In Harat al-Turkman, in Al-Husn town, and in Tel Daw, Kafarlaha, Al-Hula, Al-Khalidiyya, Al-Dar al-Kabira and Al-Ghanto villages, units of the Syrian Armed Forces eliminated terrorist groups A Tunisian terrorist nicknamed Abu Saif was identified among the dead. Moreover, units of armed forces have discovered a vehicle loaded with tons of explosives during continuous inspection campaigns. Members of engineering units have dismantled and neutralized the explosives. Other units have eliminated terrorist groups in qualitative operations carried out against terrorists gathering and dens in Al-Qusur, Al-Warsha, Bab Houd and Jurd al-Shaykh. In Homs countryside, a Syrian Arab army unit raided a terrorist hideout in Wadi al-Mawla in Tel Kalakh, eliminating a number of them and arresting others and also seizing their weapons and ammunition. Finally, in Hajira, the armed forces seized a factory used by terrorists to manufacture explosive devices, hand grenades and mortar shells in the area between Hajira and Al-Hajar al-Aswad. Huge amounts of chemical materials used in making TNT, in addition to explosive devices, grenades and mortar launchers were also found in the factory, which is one of the main hideouts for providing Takfiri terrorists with these weapons. Moving to Dar'a, where a military source has asserted that units of the Syrian armed forces have targeted a gathering of terrorists in Ataman in Dar'a countryside and eliminated the leader of the so-called battalion of Mujahideen, nicknamed Al-Jahid. Lu'ay and Muhammad al-Mutlaq, Firas Subhi and Fahd al-Khalid, in addition to destroying a 23mm cannon and 2 vehicles loaded with ammunition near the communication building and the vicinity of Al-Bina al-Zahri in Ataman. Moving to Al-Hasaka province, where units of the Syrian Arab army have restored peace and stability in Al-Bajira, Kharma, Sharma, Jarmaz, Al-Rakabiya, Al-Marza in Qamishli countryside. In Aleppo, a number of citizens were injured due to a terrorist attack with 5 mortar shells. The shells launched by terrorists towards Bustan al-Qasr fell over the municipality building, causing the injury of the citizens in the place and material damages to the buildings nearby. In Aleppo countryside, the army fully controlled the town of Tel Hasel and its surrounding, after a series of operations in which dozens of terrorists were killed or injured and their weapons and ammunition were destroyed. The Syrian Arab army has also opened the road linking the villages of Tel Shghaib and Tel Aram in Aleppo. Pakistani police have announced that at least 7 people were killed and more than 30 wounded in confrontations in Rawalpindi, close to the capital Islamabad. It is to be noted that about 400 Pakistanis were killed in sporadic attacks carried out by extremist groups. After 3 years of the NATO's democracy and the so-called Arab Spring, Libya is witnessing a state of chaos of arms and insecurity, raising the death toll among the demonstrators who took to the streets of the capital Tripoli in protest of the illegal practices, to 37 in addition to other 450 wounded. Security sources have indicated that Misrata-linked militias have moved to Tripoli with dozens of vehicles and that Qasr bin Ghashir area was witnessing fierce confrontations. Minister of Information Omran al-Zabi has inaugurated today the Club of the Youth Correspondents in Damascus.
The club compromises volunteers who wish to follow up the latest events witnessed in Damascus politically or militarily. Mr. Zabi pointed out to the importance of this step as it provides training for the youth journalists and attracts them to prepare a well-trained cadres who would furnish the Syrian national cadres working in media domain with new ideas. It is to be noted that the club will upload its activities on the various social websites and on the YouTube. It will also launch a new satellite channel with the aim to complete the other media outlets and present reality and truth.
With this, we come to the end of our news for today. For more information about Syria and the region, and to view this bulletin again, you can visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Stay with us, the latest in the world of market and finance in our economic news, but after the break.